Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to a Bhagavad-gita class. We'll be having a Gita session for an hour, and then there'll be a Guru Arati. So please do remain in tune for that. So there'll be an Arati after that. And welcome to everyone that are also watching online. So we'll start with a Jai Radha Madhav, and then we'll go into the Gita. Today there's no purport for the verses. Let's see. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Gokula Nanda, Radha Gokula Nanda, Radha Gokula Nanda, Shri Radhe. Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman, Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda ki, Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Srila Jagat Guru Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Pramanande. Hare Krishna, everyone. Just bear with me for a moment. So, welcome to this evening's Bhagavad-gita class. We'll be reading from chapter 18. So before we start reading, what we'll do is we'll start with a short invocation to call out on the mercy and the blessings of the Acharyas and also all the Vaishnavas, both that are present here and those that are watching online. It is always important whenever we start any form of spiritual discussion really to seek blessings. Without it, then really don't know where the conversation can go. So, Om Ajnanatimandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmei Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Vanchakalpa Turubhishcha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Nantukoti Vaishnavrinda ki. So today we'll be reading from chapter 18, the perfection of renunciation, and it's quite an interesting few verses, no purport, so really there's a lot of scope of things that can be discussed, but I'll try my best to make it relevant, to make it practical, and to see what it is that we can extract from these particular verses. So this is from text 41 to 45. That's text 41 to 45. But what I'll do is that I'll read English from 41 and then I'll attempt to read in Sanskrit from 45. So this is 41. Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras are distinguished by the qualities born of their own natures in accordance with the material modes. O chastiser of the enemy. 42. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness, these are the natural qualities by which the Brahmanas work. 43. Heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership are the natural qualities of work for the Kshatriyas. Farming, cow, protection, and business are the natural work for the Vaishyas, and for the Sudras, there are labors and service to others. So, Svesve Kamani Abhirata Shamshedim Labate Nara Svakama Nirataha Siddhim Yata Vindate Tatrinu. That was my attempt of 45. Do you want to try it? Okay, so we'll read the translation. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. By following His qualities of work, every man can become perfect. Now please hear from me how this can be. So like I said, it's a really unique, because usually there's purport, but for these particular verses there isn't any purport. So I'll try my best really to touch on scopes of topics that are practical, relevant, and things that we can also reflect on and apply in our life, because why else is the Bhagavad-gita here with us? Arjuna was going through so many perplexities, just as every single day of our life, knowingly or unknowingly, there's a lot of perplexities we go through, a lot of suffering. Sometimes we naturally get drawn to so many difficulties and challenges and we don't know what to do. So the Bhagavad-gita can be a book that we just open on a regular basis and it's nice, we like to read it, it makes us feel a little bit more spiritual. Or it could actually be a book, a manual, something to help us to overcome difficulties and challenges and develop a relationship with Krishna. But really and truly, the choice are both ours. So let's really try our best. Insanity is doing the same thing again and again and again and expecting a different result. And Bhaktivedanta Swami once said that we should try and avoid being normal in a crazy world that we live in, where so much of our life is defined, dictated, and determined by accumulation of things that we don't need. That is insanity. And for so many people, they accept the morals, the values of an insane world. And so as a result of it, there's so much frustration, so much distress, so much unhappiness in the world. And people truly and really feel like, what am I doing in this world? Am I living in accordance with my purpose? Am I really and genuinely doing what it is that I'm supposed to be doing in this world? So these are questions. It's not just for people that are living outside. Also, often people that are also living in a temple, they're perplexed by these confusions. Existential crisis, you may call it. So let's see what we can really extract from these particular verses. First and foremost, how many of you have a mobile phone? Okay, everyone should have a mobile phone. I know a couple of few devotees here that don't have a mobile phone. Even I have a mobile phone myself. And a mobile phone, when we actually look at it, when you turn it on, it's got many different apps, many different features. Some are heavy, others are light. But it has a purpose. And what is that purpose? That purpose is so that we can call, and what can we do? We can connect. You know, how many of you have called your loved ones today? Today, did you? Good. You stay in touch with them? Good, yeah. So we utilize phone in order to stay in touch with people that we love, people that we care about, to check on them, to see how they are, to see what they're up to. So a phone has different features. It has different apps. It has different look, but it serves the same purpose. It serves the same purpose. And similarly, every single one of us, we have a different personality. We have a different character. We may have different traits, different qualities, whatever it is. But we also have what is called Dharma. We all have what is called a purpose. And we have two purposes. Often in life, because of distraction, deviation, because we take our eyes off what really matters, we get distracted and we think that life is all about my external purpose. My external purpose of working really, really hard. And the reality is that this tendency we can also find it in devotional life. But Krishna consciousness, spiritual life, life in general is not just about how hard we work. It's not about what is externally being done. But it's also the mood, the internal, inner world. What kind of renovation are we making in that? What sort of transformation are we experiencing in that? How often are we reflecting on what is going on inside in our world? So therefore, just like a phone, we also have a purpose. The external purpose may be that every single one of us have a particular job, a career, a relationship to take care of, somewhere to work, a house to maintain. We all have a different purpose. And other than those purposes, we may also come to the temple and do some service. But then is that other than our external responsibilities and duties in the world, if it is not simultaneously done with our spiritual purpose, then we will always experience dissatisfaction. Because inside every single one of us, there's this vacuum. And this vacuum cannot be filled by any external material solutions and resources. Otherwise, we'll always be frustrated. It can only be fulfilled by spiritual solutions. So therefore, sometimes people may feel scared. They may feel afraid. They may feel that Krishna consciousness, spiritual life, is trying to make me ritualistic. It's trying to tell me to forget about everything. It's trying to tell me that actually, you know what? I don't belong in this world. And yes, we may not belong in this world. But Krishna consciousness, spiritual life isn't some sort of thing that is there to take anything away from your life, but to add the most important element in your life, which is your spiritual practice. Your spiritual lifestyle, your spiritual practice. How can you integrate that with your material responsibilities? So for instance, did you know that on an average we have actually around 35,000 decisions a day that we have to make? And out of that, around 227 of those decisions are only based on what we're going to eat. So every single day we have a decision, and those decisions determine our destiny. But often those decisions are being invested on small things. Things that don't require so much of our attention. Things that don't require so much of our energy. Things that can be delegated. Things that can be put aside. But because we don't do and we invest much more energy than we should, we worry more than we should. As a result of it, when it comes to the important decisions in our life, it's practically difficult to make. How many of you experience that? And I'm sure those that are watching online, you also feel the same way. If you don't, then let me know. But yeah, we all are faced with so many difficult decisions. And really, truly, the beauty of this is, sometimes, especially when I was practicing other faiths, the beauty of it is that there's one thing that Krishna has given every single one of us. And at the same time, he hasn't taken away from us. What is that? That is our decision to choose. But you see, as easy as it is to choose decisions, if we don't make the right decisions, then we may wind up regretting and living with them for the rest of our life in a difficult sense. But at the same time, if we make decisions that may feel or seem hard, later on, it may actually prove to be very fruitful decisions. Am I making sense, by the way? So the question then is, why am I saying all this? Why am I sharing all this? How do we make the right decisions in our life? How do we make a decision that helps us in our spiritual life and at the same time helps us to maintain and sustain some level of sanity when it comes to our material responsibility? Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gita that out of compassion for them, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Ultimately, when we think about it, both forgetfulness and remembrance comes from Krishna. Sometimes the tendency is that when we are living our life and we experience a certain outcome that we may expect or we may not expect, at least when we expect, we think it's coming from us. Our effort, our hard work, our hustle, you may call it. We think it's coming from us. But Krishna clearly here is actually saying that both remembrance and forgetfulness comes from him. Krishna also says that I am the ability in man. So also our ability to perform any responsibilities and duties in this world is also from him. Why is it that most people find it difficult to make decisions? The reason why most people find it difficult to make decisions, especially decisions that can assist them in this life, that can help them, is because those decisions are not centered around Krishna. It is centered around the concept of I, myself, and mine. What do I want? What is it in it for me? And how can I help myself? And the result of it is that when we think very frequently about I, myself, and mine, the tendency is that we suffer. Because in the Sri Shopanishad, in Shastra, what does Krishna say? Krishna clearly actually says here that everybody in this world are given their quota. That ultimately and supremely everything belongs to him. Sometimes we may have the tendency that, oh, Prabhuji, I find it so difficult to be detached. I find it so difficult to surrender. But actually this concept of surrender, Krishna, it mentions in Shastra, Prabhupada says, what are we actually surrendering? Ultimately, everything belongs to Krishna. But Krishna gives us our quota in order for us to utilize it in order to understand the purpose of life. Srila Prabhupada says that this life is more than just about eating, defending, and sleeping. That really and truly this is an opportunity to establish, to understand what the goal and purpose of life is. And when our decisions are not centered around Krishna, there's a beautiful example, then what it is that the mind tends to come into play. And what is the mind compared to? The mind is actually compared to a drunken monkey that has been bitten by a scorpion. It's very flickery. Have you ever experienced that? On a regular basis, we're jumping from one thought to another, one lifestyle to another, one career to another, one house to another. There's no sense of stability. There's no sense of being situated. There's no sense of being satisfied. We're always looking for change. We're always looking for transformation. We're always looking for something more rather than stability. And that's what Krishna consciousness is ultimately and really all about. Spiritual life is all about. It's about finding self-satisfaction through connection, through relation with Krishna. True happiness comes from things that wealth cannot buy. Did you know that? Sometimes we think our materialistic wealth, our opulence, our good qualities, our skills, our abilities, these are the things that can bring happiness to our heart, satisfaction, fulfillment, bliss. But it brings more struggles and difficulties because we're just exploring, we're finding scopes for ways that we become even more distant from Krishna. And we must be careful of that. I tend to find even in spiritual life, we can fall for that trap. My ability, my strength, my unique talent, my chanting, mine this, mine that. So we must be very conscious. We must be very, very careful. Otherwise, it's very subtle, but we fall for that control of thinking that I am the controller. So, as I've established, as I've mentioned, that decision-making is really, really important. Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gita, chapter 6, verse 35, "Undoubtedly, O Arjuna, the mind is restless and difficult to restrain, but it is subdued by any constant, vigorous spiritual practice, such as meditation with perseverance and by detachment," O Arjuna. So, decision is difficult, and there's 4 ways that we can look at it. What are those 4 ways? How do we make the right decision? How can we make decisions that brings us closer to Krishna, that helps us establish relationship with Krishna? So often when we experience struggles, and what are the 3 types of struggles we can experience? The first type of struggle that we all experience is the struggle of the mind. How many of you struggle with your mind? We all struggle with our mind. Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gita that mind can be your best friend or it could be your worst enemy. Can either elevate or degrade one. We all struggle with the mind. The mind is always criticizing. The mind is always comparing. The mind is never satisfied. The mind is always searching and seeking for fault, because the mind wants to make us feel better than others around us. We're situated in a world filled with so much insecurity because of how much of information we have access to on a regular basis. Our mind, our sight, our sense of hearing, everything is exposed to so many knowledge, and knowledges that do not even serve us, that do not serve what is the purpose of our life. So therefore, because we're bombarded with so much information, Shishi Radha Gokulananda ki, Shishi Sitaram Lakshmana ki, Shishi Gaurnitai ki. So because we're bombarded with so much information, the first difficulty we often find in our life is that we're very indecisive. We're indecisive. Indecisive in spiritual life, indecisive in our career, indecisive in relationship, indecisive in any sense. Even indecisive with Krishna. And when we are indecisive, we get so bombarded, what happens is that we become complacent. We become comfortable with our suffering. Even though it's uncomfortable, we find a way to adjust so that therefore we can be comfortable. We struggle so much. And instead of praying to Krishna, instead of turning to Shastra, instead of seeking helps from the saints, the sadhus, we just become so complacent. So indecisiveness. The other thing is that sometimes we may become indiscretion. We may develop indiscretion. So what does that mean? The Bhagavad-gita says that what is nectar in the beginning can be poisonous in the end. So whenever we make any decisions, first we must go through the scriptures. We must go through the Bhagavad-gita. We must go through the Shastra. Because no problem that we're facing has Arjuna, it isn't that Arjuna hasn't faced. All of our struggles and difficulties, Krishna answers it in the Bhagavad-gita. But how often the foundation of our decision based on scripture? How often is the decisions that we make based on Shastra, based on the instructions of Krishna? How often is it that whenever we want to make a decision, we go through the right people, the saints, the devotees? How often do we discuss with them our perplexities and what solutions that we've been able to come with and what they think is best? Because you see in Shastra it also says that there's book Bhagavat and then there's person Bhagavat. There's the book, there's the Shastra, and there's those that are living the Shastra. So how often do we go through them? How often do we go through our mentors, our teachers, our guru? So these are filtrations that we need to take into consideration. Otherwise, we just make decisions that later on we may tend to regret. So that's indiscretion. But the most important types of quality that we should try and develop when it comes to making decision is that we must introspect. Like, how many of us journal? Prabhupada wanted that from his disciples. Prabhupada wanted that from every devotee, that we take the opportunity and the time to reflect, to introspect. When we have time to write down our observations, our reflections, our thoughts, what's going on, our realizations. So how often do we introspect? So many thoughts on a regular basis just streamline through our mind. So many ideas, so many ways that we can improve, so many concerns. But we tend to let it pass by, distracted by so many things that do not matter, that is not important. And as a result of it, we tend to struggle more than we should in our spiritual life because we don't have that focus, because we don't have that clarity, because we don't have that vision. So it's so important that we evaluate on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis, on a weekly basis, on a daily basis. We evaluate our spiritual life. We ask ourselves, how much depth have I developed in my Krishna consciousness? How is the quality of my chanting? How is the quality of my hearing? What is my relationship with Krishna? Has it even made any progress? Or does it still remain the same? Every day when I come to the temple, is it moving my heart? Or do I still remain the same? What is my relationship with the books, with the Shastra? These are questions that we can ask. Because time is ticking. Our life here is shortening. So these are questions that we can reflect on. And then when we introspect, then what we can find is inspiration. And that's ultimately where we should be making decisions from. Inspiration. Am I making sense so far? So how do we make decisions based on inspirations? Where do we search? Where do we seek for these inspirations? So I mentioned that. First of all, it's Shastra. Srila Prabhupada has written so many books, so many commentaries. The Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad-gita. Like, how many of you read the Bhagavad-gita other than being in a Gita class? Yes, some of you. The thing is, how can we expect to find answers to our problems in our life when we're not turning to the words of Krishna? How can we expect to find solutions to our difficulties? You see, the Bhagavad-gita is question and answer. We have questions. Krishna has the answers. But what effort are we putting in to find what those answers are? We have this natural expectation that we've come from the outside world, that we just naturally expect things to show up in our life for us. But it doesn't work like that. To the degree that we invest, Krishna reciprocates. So therefore, if we take the time in our day, in our lives, to just even open one page, try and understand that, try and read that, we'll find more nectar, more solutions than we thought we did, or we thought we could. So that's the first thing. We need to open and broaden our scope, our horizon, our consciousness, our mind. Connect with intelligence through reading. So the Shastra. Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, in the Nectar of Instruction, it says that one of the loving exchanges of devotees is that to be able to reveal their minds in, talk about confidential things, but in confidence. So the other question that we can actually ask ourselves is, do we have people in our life that we can open our heart to? And I mean seriously open our heart to. The tendency sometimes is that it's become such a normal thing when people ask us, how are you? Yeah, I'm fine. Everything's good. Yes, thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Mataji, whatever. But do we truly and genuinely have people in our lives that we can reveal our heart to, that we can share our struggles with, and that we can discuss solutions with? It's difficult Because sometimes we feel that even we don't know what the struggle is. Even we feel like we don't know our own difficulties. But that is the more reason why Srila Prabhupada has created and established an organization like ISKCON, where devotees can come together and actually exercise these loving exchanges. To give prasadam and receive prasadam, to reveal your mind, but also to listen. So much of a conversation comes from listening. So much of revelation comes from hearing. It doesn't come through just speaking. But do we have people like that in our life? Do we? It's difficult, isn't it? We could be so close to the people that we love the most, yet so far. So then we must ask ourselves, what types of people are there in my life? There's people that may love us. There's people that may even care for us. But do we have people that can help us? Love and care is nice. But do we have people that can help us? And help us how? Help us according to what Srila Prabhupada has given us. Help us according to Shastra. Help us according to the words and instructions of Krishna. And lastly, but not least, how much time are we investing in developing personal relationship with Krishna through japa, through chanting? How many of you chant? Great. That's what I like to see. Yes. So yes, Krishna can actually sometimes inspire us in our heart. Did you know that? Sometimes you may go for a difficult situation and circumstance, and something may just be like telling you, make this decision, do this, do that. You see, the voice of Krishna becomes more clearer when we actually invest some effort in that relationship. Otherwise, the voice of Krishna inside of our heart becomes clouded by the distractions and the temptations of the world outside of us. So many distractions. So many thoughts. They say that distractions only come to those that take their eyes off the prize. So Krishna is able to reveal himself, but to the degree, how much do we want him to reveal to us? How much do we want him to reveal himself to us? That's the question. If you want to forget about Krishna, Krishna will reciprocate. He will provide you with all the resources, tools, and with the situation to forget about him. But if you want to remember him, then he also will provide situations and circumstances and the tools and resources to remember him. But the question is, what do you really desire? And you may think, yes, but Prabhu, I really, really want to remember Krishna. I really, really, really want to develop a relationship with Krishna. But look within yourself and ask yourself, is that seriously what you want? Because sometimes what we desire and how we act upon that are two entirely different things. We want to remember Krishna, but we're doing the activities that opposes that same desire. We may want relationship with Krishna, but we're engaged in activities that opposes that desire. Our desire for what we want and how we engage that desire must connect. It must really resonate. It's not about just what you want. It's also about what you're doing, how much you're investing, what you're giving. Otherwise, we're holding back so much. So Shastra, sadhus, the Paramatma. So this is how we can make the best decisions. And when we go through these three, so SSS, Scripture, Spiritual Teaching, Super Soul. When we go through these things, there's three questions that naturally come for every single one of us. What is those three questions? Sambanda, Abhidheya, and Prayojana. So Sambanda, who am I? Relationship, what is that relationship with Krishna that I'm yearning for, that I'm thirsty for, that I'm looking for? So much of what we feel like we're missing in our life today, we try and make up for it with external options, external resources, external objects. But I was explaining the other day, that's like a drip of water in a desert. It brings a temporary relief, but then we're back in square one, suffering. Do you know what I mean? So that's Sambanda. Who am I? Then Abhidheya. Why am I here? What am I doing? Where is my journey taking me? What is the journey? We think life is all about just existing, that we neglect to live. To live means to know who we are. To live knows I know what I'm doing. And not because of my own knowledge, but because of the knowledge, the process, the procedure that Krishna has given me. To living in accordance with Krishna's desire. When Arjuna saw the universal form, he also saw that all the enemies, all the soldiers were being crushed and destroyed. And then Arjuna said to Krishna, Krishna, I thought you wanted me to fight. I thought like we were fighting together. Like I can already see that this battle has already been determined. And Krishna said, yes, this battle was already determined, but I also wanted you to become an instrument so then therefore you can gain the glory. Krishna wants glory for us. Krishna wants us to be happy. But to be happy means that we need to be unhappy in this world. Why? Because we can't escape from through the misery of the mind. We can't escape through the misery of other living entities. And we can't escape the misery of natural calamity. So the more Krishna gives us ways that we can be more and more unhappy in this world, then we'll find that real happiness only truly exists when we are with Him. But right now we're separate from Him. Well, we're not separate. We're always connected with Him, but we think in our consciousness we're separate from Him. But we can never be separate from Him. We're always connected to Him. When we think that we're alone, it's only because we have in our consciousness disconnected from Krishna. But we can never be disconnected from Krishna. Lastly, Prayojana. Where is my destination? We think destination is having 2 houses, 2 cars, 2 banks. Success, that's what we think the destination is. 2 everything. But actually that's just satisfying the false ego. But where is the real destination of life? And ultimately we know that is with Krishna. So we must remember that we're a spiritual being having an experience in this material world. And as important as it is to take care to maintain and sustain the needs of this body, we mustn't neglect our spiritual responsibility. We mustn't neglect our responsibility, spiritual duty. And only when we do that, then can we really and truly experience satisfaction. Say that every material problem comes from a spiritual crisis. When we are going through a spiritual crisis, only then are we perplexed by the problems of this world. But when we are spiritually nourished, then no matter what difficulties and challenges we're going through, there's always a sense of relief and confidence because we're always connected with Krishna. Is that making sense so far? So, just bear with me. So there's Dharma. So I spoke about the Dharma of the body, the Svadharma, and then there's also the Sanatan Dharma. Svadharma are responsibilities and duties in this material world. And Sanatan Dharma are spiritual responsibility and duty while we are in this world. And the analogy, the example that can be given is like the bird in the cage. Seldom, so often, we focus so much on constantly trying to cleanse the cage that we forget and we starve the bird. So we're starving our soul. We're starving our soul from the real nourishment that it requires. And so it's really important to remember that death is not the greatest loss in life. But the greatest loss in life is what dies inside while still alive. So what are we doing to nourish our soul? What are we doing to prevent our soul from being deprived of the nourishment that it requires? How invested are we in our spiritual practice? How invested are we in our studies, in our chanting, in our reading, in our hearing? These are the essentials. Everything else is wants. So, and when we nourish our spiritual self, then what can we expect to experience? So here's an important thing. We can expect to experience real freedom. Where does real freedom come from? Real freedom comes from overcoming fear, anger, and attachment. Every single one of us, we have a tendency to get angry, especially when life doesn't go the way we want. Are you right? Yes, we can all agree on that, right? When life doesn't go the way we want, do we respond or do we react? We tend to react. Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gita that real yoga means practice and detachment. So how often, so we can overcome anger, then we can overcome fear. Fear of losing our loved ones, fear of losing our wealth, fear of losing our home, fear of losing our career, fear of losing. Fear. And lastly, attachment. We overcome our attachment. And when we overcome our personal attachment, then we can find real attachment in Krishna. We can find real attachment in spiritual matter, in spiritual things. Otherwise, we're always binded. We're always drawn. It's like, the fly that's always flying, the moth that's always flying around the fire and it gets burnt. That's what material world is like. It looks flashy. Yes, more clothes, more car, more wealth, more money, more this, more that. And what happens is that it develops anxiety. I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose my money. I don't want to lose my house. I don't want to lose. And then we get so distracted. We get so distracted until what happens is that our intelligence becomes bewildered. We become frustrated, tired. And then we actually lose our ability to be able to make a distinction between reality and illusion, between what matters and what doesn't. So it's like the moth that's always flying around the fire. That's what it is like when we're flying around the material existence, this material fire, this forest fire. So, yes, if we don't overcome this, then there's a real threat that we wind up being controlled by emotions and desires. And that's the reality. We cannot control what is outside of us, can we? We can't, no matter how much we want. So therefore, when we actually follow the instructions of Krishna, when we try and follow the guidance of Krishna, what happens is that we can expect to become purified. And we can develop what is called higher taste. So Krishna will pose us 3 things in our life. And we must remember what these 3 things are. The first thing is that sometimes Krishna will put us in situations where we need to do necessary activities. And we may not like that. Like I know for those that are living in the temple, at least I personally found it difficult. Every morning you have to wake up at a certain time. And it's difficult, especially when it's cold and you're enjoying your sleep. And then after that you may be asked, okay, clean the temple, do this service, that service. And you may feel like this is really difficult. But what it is that when we do activities that are necessary, it inspires us to develop some personal surrender. Putting aside our comfort, our convenience, putting ourselves in an inconvenient situation in order to really understand and establish what life is all about. And life is not about my enjoyment, but it's about how can I broaden my horizon? How can I extend myself? How can I become more selfless rather than just selfish, self-centered? And when we do that, that's real bliss. That's real happiness. Our perception, our understanding of what happiness is very distorted. We're very deluded in understanding and thinking we know what happiness is. Happiness is the temporary absence of suffering. Did you know that? Happiness basically means in this momentarily period I'm not suffering, but as soon as I'm starting to suffer, then I'm not happy again. So when we have to wake up for the morning program, we may think, oh, that's not really happiness. But as soon as we get out of bed and we come to the temple, then we experience happiness. It's a temporary inconvenience, but permanent satisfaction. So necessary activities. And then there's challenging activities. There may be certain responsibilities that we're scared of taking up. Certain duties that we shy away from, like giving class. We may feel scared. We may feel nervous. We may feel like, I don't want to do this. I don't know how to do this. But when we do this, we develop real internal growth. Then we are really able to renovate our inner world and center Krishna around it. Then we're really able to experience Krishna's hand in our life. So the question is, what challenging activities are you avoiding in your life? What necessary activity are you trying to delegate to others instead of doing it yourself? And what are you missing out on? Prabhupada says we live in a world of cheaters and cheated. How are you cheating yourself? Why are you cheating yourself? Sometimes we must do the necessary in order to evolve, in order to experience transformation. The transformation of our heart. We must first work on the ecology of the heart before we can work on the ecology of the world around us and the people around us. Last but not least, then what inspirational activities can we take upon? But you see, unless we first learn to do necessary activities and challenging activities, then inspirational activities can become detrimental to us. It can just cultivate a sense of pride, arrogance. I'm very proud because I'm very good at this. This is my nature. This is my Dharma. So we must avoid that. We must first do the necessary, then the challenging, and then only can we look into doing what is inspirational. So therefore, I urge, just to kind of make this, in order to avoid disappointment, failure, and a sense of disconnection from Krishna, it's time that we analyze, reflect, contemplate on the trajectory of our life. And how can we do that? Ask yourself the question, how seriously are you reading Srila Prabhupada's books? Okay, we're reading bits and bobs here and there, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and oh yeah, it builds up to. But how invested are we in reading Shastra? It's about time that we started taking our life serious. It's about time that we started taking spiritual life serious. Unfortunate turn of events is right around the corner for every single one of us. Once someone came to Prabhupada and said, it's like, all of your disciples, they're very young. Why are they so morbid? Why are they thinking about death and all these kind of stuff? And it's like, old, young, old, death. Every single one of us have the possibility to die at any time, so therefore practically every single one of us are old. Old age means death. Every single one of us can die, so we're all old. Even I'm old. You're all old. We're all old. So therefore it's about time we started taking our life serious, our spiritual life serious. Anything can happen at any time. Life is unpredictable. Changes, they're unpredictable, inevitable, and uncontrollable. What are we going to do about it? So we must really take time to invest in reading, chanting. How many of you chant again? Let's raise your hand. Yes, we must invest in this chanting. Prabhupada says that actually life is a test, and it is in our moment of death when our bhajans will be revealed to us. How hard we have worked throughout our life is what was going to determine what kind of relief are we going to experience in our final moment? Or what kind of challenging are we going to experience in our final moment? So, yes, we must commit, we must do our Dharma, but we mustn't forget our Sanatan Dharma. So yes, it's nice to take on new project, new challenges, new career, new opportunities, but never forget to center Krishna around whatever you do in life. Because Krishna is your source of relief. Krishna is your source of confidence. Thank you all so much. I always have this tendency whenever I give class, I never really leave a time for questions and answers. I don't do that intentionally. I like answering questions, but yeah, so if you have any questions, there's 2 minutes before the curtain opens. I'm happy to answer questions, but I'm just afraid that the conch shell will blow soon. So I'll just be around. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to come and ask, and then we can discuss. Otherwise, at least for this formality section, thank you all so much. Hare Krishna. Antara Srimad Bhagavad-gita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Pramanande.
The temporary suffering versus the permanent satisfaction. It's rewarding. Long term is rewarding. Short term is such a especially with the same agenda. Usually, are you going to sing? I don't know how to sing.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Shri Vai Gotama ki jai, Jam Mai, Himuna Mai дай благослови. О, горе, что сам Бхагavad-gita. Вся слава собравшимся преданным. To those glorious powers, devotees to you this Jai Shri Shri Guru. Jai Shri Shri Guru. Jai Shri Shri Guru.
Namaste Narasimhaya, Namaste Narasimhaya, Radha-Radha-Radha-Radha. Jai, Shri Prahlad Maharaja ki Jai. His Divine Grace, Vacharan Bhaktivedanta Manor Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Yeah. Now don't go there because they're supposed to come in the morning. They didn't come. They're coming now. It's too late. I have to make some other arrangement. Because they're supposed to come in the morning from 10 to 2, 10 to 12, and then they say 2 o'clock. Nobody can. I don't know. They're closing.
The garage is not open now with the phone.
So anyway. Yeah, because now it's closed anyway. Sorry? No, I told, I already closed from I company. Yeah, I could tell you. Yeah, yeah, because really missing out. Yesterday, he said he was going to come. So after 4 hours, so he was going to do late. And I said, okay, I picked up in the morning. And they said, okay, they're coming from 10 to 12. Yeah, between 10 and 12. Nobody came up. First I was behind them. Oh, they're definitely coming at 2 o'clock. And then we looked at about 2:30. We phoned them up. Or we'll see when you send something. So we took a day off to go there, and we messed up. And then she said, yeah, couldn't take another day off. So I had to do it on a private day. Really, very, very bad service. Yeah.
I think I'm going to stop it.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, yes, thank you. I don't blame you, you're just, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you. Yeah, you take it, I think so, will always, this is kind of, it's just working, you know, I'm just reading the car, using Google, it's just taking a car and walking. You might have really go and see this. If I wasn't, I don't know what you got. So bad.
Okay, it's 8:30. Which garage is going to be open? Where will they take it?
The money take it to Otari, Rishino,
Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavangscha Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sadhana Raghunathanikam Tam Sadivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Sri Visakhanitam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnava Vangsha Sri Rupam Sagrajayatam Sahagana Raghunathanitang Tang Sajivam Sadaitam Sab